and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And this is the Player in Focus show, following up from the rating show after the Chelsea game, the 0-0 draw at Stamford Bridge. I put 4 players in the Twitter poll to decide who was going to be the Player in Focus. I put Bruno in there, Marcus, Mason, and Dan James. And Dan James commanded 46. There was over 2,700 people voted, so quite a lot of votes, and 46% of the votes went to Dan James, so he won it hands down. All the other players I gave a 5 out of 10 to. Dan James I gave a 7 out of 10 to. Maybe a lot of people thought they want to see why I thought Dan played so well. Although there are quite a few people who thought he played well. Ollie mentioned after the game, he mentioned his work rate and his effort, his enthusiasm, which is all true of Dan James every time he plays. But a lot of people question his quality, and I think his quality on the day was at least as good as anybody else. The thing about, if we go back to the thing about enthusiasm and work rate, it's a funny thing when you think about it, because you do say that that's the minimum requirement. That is the minimum requirement of a professional footballer, really, let alone a Premier League footballer, that you do give 100% and you work your socks off every time you play. So it's a bit strange that certain players are picked out and they do say that player works hard. He works, especially hard. How can you work especially hard when everybody's supposed to be working as hard as they can? It's a really strange thing to sort of get your head round, if you like. But it does appear. I mean, Bruno's another one. I think Bruno works his socks off every time he plays, and it's certainly true of Dan James as well. Maybe they cover the ground a bit quicker. It gives the impression that they're working harder, or are they actually working harder? I'm not really sure, but you certainly do get that feeling from Dan James. He covers the ground quickly, so there's no point. I could put lots of clips up of him chasing this player down, chasing that player down, but I think everybody agrees that he does work his socks off. I mean, quite a lot of people say he runs around like an headless chicken, and I'm just putting up one clip showing his work rate, really. In which I will say that maybe you could argue it's like an headless chicken, but at the same time, when is the headless chicken actually triggering the press, as they call it these days? They have this idea that one person can go and the others need to be on the ball when he goes to try and press. So I've tried to keep it mainly about the actual football. A lot of people also talk about, I've heard plenty of people talk about lack of footballing intelligence with Dan James. I don't see it that way at all. I see an intelligent player. So quite a few of the clips are just going to be simple one-touch and two-touch passes, and him seeing a player who's the right person in space. And I believe that sometimes other players don't see these one-touch and two-touch passes. In fact, in one of the clips I will point out quite drastically, really, where one player should see a one-touch pass, that he doesn't see it, or he doesn't play it anyway. He doesn't play it as a one-touch pass when he definitely should do. And in the same clip, the ball comes to Dan James, and he does realise that it needs to be a one-touch pass, and he plays it perfectly. So that's just one of the clips. But I'm starting just with the first one, clip number 1, which these are obviously, as ever, these are going to go up on Rick the Red UK on Twitter. Clip number 1, they've got a corner. These are just all simple bits of play by Dan James, and like I said, bits of work rate, stuff like that. But they've got a corner. It gets headed out. Mason's on the edge of the box, and Dan's coming out of the box, and Mason flicks it on, and it's going to one of their players. Dan James hairs out of the box and realises he can get to it. As he's racing to it, I think he sees Bruno to his left, but he certainly beats the opponent to it, and he plays it that way. It could be that he's just trying to take it that way away from that man, but the man fouls him. He gets fouled that often, Dan James, when he plays. It's unbelievable. I lost count of how many times he got fouled in this game, and sometimes it doesn't get given, but certainly he beats the man to the ball. He takes it to the left. I think he takes it to the left because he knows Bruno's there. You could argue that he takes it to the left, he's just trying to take the man on, but he gets fouled. Bruno tries a first time pass over the top to Marcus. You'll remember the one then Marcus tries to lob it over the defender to Mason Greenwood. It's in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game, and if Marcus just manages to get it over that defender, we would have been in with a goal scoring chance in the first few minutes. And it all starts from Dan winning the ball, being determined, and certainly getting a touch on the ball before their defender, and the referee lets the play go. He would definitely have got a foul. The referee, I thought, there's going to be another one like that later on, where the referee, I think in some circumstances, would have gone back and booked the opponent after the play's broken down, but he didn't do. Clip number 2 is a similar type of thing, but even better. Again, in our own half, McTominay sees Greenwood in like an inside right position. McTominay fires it into Greenwood's feet. Greenwood flicks it inside, still in our own half, and Dan James is running onto it. If you watch this closely and I rewind it, some of the clips that I've put on, by the way, I've spoken over them as well, and some of them is just a clip of actually what happened. But on this particular one, you can see that Dan runs onto the ball. When I talk about football intelligence, you can see quite clearly that he realises Bruno's 5 yards inside, and just as he gets to the ball, he passes the ball. You need to watch it closely. Watching the game live, and even in the first clip, by the way, the clip runs on so that you can see it in slow motion from a different angle. So watching it live, and even the first bit of the clip, you could easily think that he's just running the ball, he's trying to knock the ball forward. You could think that the defender tackles the ball into Bruno's path. But then when you see it from a better angle, you can see that Dan James has looked at Bruno 5 yards inside, even while he's running at full tilt, and you can see that he sets his right leg outside the ball. He's deliberately passing the ball in field to Bruno. He's not knocking the ball forward to chase it. He's passing it to Bruno. It looks, watching the game live, it probably looks like something or nothing. It might even look like an accident, like the defenders played it to Bruno. But it is not an accident. It's a classy piece of play by Dan James that, to me, shows football intelligence. Clip number 3. This is the one that incorporates work rate. He's in his own half, and they're forced to play the ball backwards. When it's played back to the left back area, he can see that the centre back's on, so he closes the centre back down before the ball can get to him, so they can't use the centre back. So they go all the way back to the goalkeeper. This is the one I'm talking about, where I sometimes say we shouldn't be closing goalkeepers down, but they do press. Bruno's on the press. Dan James, if this is how he operate it, if Dan James triggers it, as they call it, by him chasing the goalkeeper down, it certainly works. And what happens is he chases the keeper down. Marcus Rashford runs towards the right fullback or the right centre back. Bruno's on Kante, and then Greenwood starts coming in from the right hand side of the field. But they do try and play out Chelsea, and they are good at it. So when they try and play out, Dan almost reaches the 6 yard box, but when the keeper passes it, he turns. Now, don't forget, he's just sprinted from his own half. When the keeper passes it to the right back, he starts to move out. But then when they pass it infield towards N'Golo Kante, James puts a sprint on again, going backwards. And then when he puts a sprint on again, and this is another one, this is the third one where, well, it's 2 out of 3 here where he's actually passed it in the challenge. The first one that I showed, I think he might have been trying to beat the man, but even so, he successfully beat him. It's simply that he got fouled, that he didn't get past him, and it went to Bruno. But in the second one, he definitely passes it, and in this one, you can see him look at Fred. He gets in front of N'Golo Kante, and even though Fred's slightly to his right and slightly behind him, he just stops it with the outside of his right foot and bounces it off into Fred's path. Again, some people might think it's an accident. I promise you it's not an accident. He deliberately gets in front of Kante and passes the ball to Fred all in one movement, and it ends up with us getting a shot, and Bruno has the shot, and it deflects behind for a corner. Clip number 4. This is quite a long clip. This is the one where I speak over it and I talk about one player, which is Bruno, not showing the right attitude might be the wrong word, but he certainly doesn't show football acumen, if you like. What I'm saying here, I promise you faithfully, he needs to pass the ball quickly. It is, you know, some people might think I'm being harsh. I am not being harsh. It's a really simple thing when you're on the football pitch. If you see a teammate in front of you who's in space and the ball's in front of you, there's no benefit in you taking a touch. There's, you know, there is sometimes in football benefiting to if somebody's running past you and you're going to take a touch and put it in front of them. There's often times when it's right to take a touch, but you need to understand this when you're on the football pitch. There's plenty of occasions where it is not correct to take a touch. The ball's there to be played. You can see a man. You may know that there's a man behind you. You may not know. But one thing you do know, and you can see this in this clip, is Bruno's looking at Greenwood. He can see Greenwood. He can see that he's in space. There can be no possible benefit in taking a touch. The ball's not bouncing. It's not difficult. It's there in front of him. And he doesn't pass it first time to Greenwood as he should do. He takes a touch. Because he takes a touch, it allows Kante to get in with a challenge. It just takes one touch too many. So he takes that touch, Kante gets in with a challenge, and the ball just happens to bounce to Greenwood from the challenge. I spoke earlier about the one where Dan James was running forward and he goes in for a ball, but actually passes it in field. It's not the challenge that takes it in field, he passes it in field. So in this instance, Bruno shouldn't allow that challenge to come in. He's got 2 yards on Kante and the ball's in front of him and he should pass it. It goes to Mason anyway from Kante's challenge. Then Mason runs infield a little bit. Dan won the ball back in the first place, pokes it to Bruno. Then he's made his way to the edge of the box. When he makes his way to the edge of the box, Greenwood gives it him and he plays a lovely little first time pass. He's got a man behind him, a yard or two. He doesn't take a touch. He just passes it first time straight back into Mason's path. And Mason could try and have a shot first time, but he takes a touch, opens up the far side and shoots wide. On another day, it could end up in the top corner. Mason's got that ability. It doesn't end up in the top corner. If it would have done, it'd have been a brilliant piece of play from Dan James that sets up the opportunity. Even though it's a very simple one-touch layoff. I've said that on the clip, by the way. You regularly hear the fact that the commentators saying that because they can hear everything that's going on in the stadium these days with no fans, and they regularly mention the fact that Ollie's asking for the passes to be quicker. We need to speed up our passing, and you can't pass it any quicker than passing it first touch. There's no way of passing it any quicker. Dan James in this instance shows how to pass it first time, and Bruno dallies on it and he's lucky that when he gets tackled that it actually goes to one of our players. Clip number 5, we only had a couple of dangerous moments in the game, very few. Dan James was involved in all of them really, or virtually all of them. As I say, the one that he set Mason up with a shot. When I say involved in it, even the first one where Marcus has broke away and tried to set Greenwood up, it was Dan James that won the ball back for Bruno to play it through. In this instance, he gets the ball. This is clip number 5. He gets the ball on the right. He beats Ben. He just makes a yard of space and gets the ball into the box. He beats Chilwell pretty easy to get his cross in. It's really good piece of play. I've said in the clip, we've got 3 men in the box, which is good for us. We're often short in the box, but Bruno's in the box, Mason Greenwood's in the box, and Marcus Rashford's in the box. They've got one centre-back who's come towards the near post. It clears him easily, and then it just so happens that those 3 players, Kante's in the box, but he's the wrong side of him. So those 3 players there are very unlucky that the ball comes at such a height that the one centre-back who's in between all 3 of them can get to it and clear it. But I do believe that we do need a striker who's better in the air. And whatever you think about Anthony Martial, I'm not having it for 1 minute that he's not better in the air than Mason. You know, whatever other assets these players have got, he's better in the air than Bruno. He's our only player really who can compete in the air. Marcus can't compete in the air. So we are putting, you know, we've brought Dan James into the team, who's a winger who can get the ball in the box. but we're starting to use other forwards who are not particularly good. There's different facets to the game, of course there is, different reasons, but I'm just saying we now got a player who can get the ball in the box. And Anthony Martial, I'm not saying he's Harry Kane or Joe Jordan for any old Reds who might be watching. I'm not saying that for 1 minute, but he is our best header of a ball, certainly while Cavani's out injured anyway. He is our best striker without any shadow of a doubt in the air. In fact, he scored a great goal with an header at Stamford Bridge only last season. So we've brought a winger in who can cross it, but we've not got a player in the box really who can win headers. Number 6 is another cross. I thought I'd keep them together. This is not in chronological order. I've put them in a certain order. This is in the second half. He beats Rudiger down the line. Dan James crosses it hard and low. On this occasion, again, this is slightly different. We've only got Greenwood attacking the box on this occasion. You can see Rashford at the back of the box. He should really be going in quicker. And Bruno's only just getting into the box. And he fires in a really dangerous ball and the keeper can't handle it. He fumbles it, but managed to get it at the second grab. So there's the best 2 crosses of the game put in by any United players. One after the other there. I've showed them the high one in the first half and the low one in the second half. Either of which could have ended up in a goal on another day. So really good play. Some people could argue we don't need to cross it because we haven't got aerial ability. But those players are in the box on the first one I'm talking about. They're in the box waiting for a cross. We can't have it all ways. They're in there waiting for a cross, so we've got to cross it at some stage. And there's 2 decent crosses there by Dan James, the best 2 crosses really that we put into the box. Clip number 7. I think Marcus picks him out with a decent ball to the edge of the box. He brings it down well. I think he brings it down with his body. Mason makes a run to the right and he drifts in just a little bit. Gives himself an opening. He has a shot. He's just outside the D. I've said this in the clip. People might say, "Oh, you're always criticising him." I'm only criticising us for shooting if you're too far out. I always say you've got to be in that the lighter shade of grass. If you're in that second shade of grass, you're too far out as far as I'm concerned. You might see the odd worldie. I've had people say, "Oh, I saw such a body," or "We scored from that distance last season," or whatever. If you have 20 shots from there, 1 might go in. I'd rather we passed it more and only shoot if you really, really think it's on. And I think this is a worthwhile effort by Dan James. A player gets a block in, it goes out for a corner. It's not the end of the world, but when he has his shot, he's only just outside the D, and I think it was a worthwhile effort. Clip number 8. Again, very simple play. The last few are all just simple one-touch bits of play that I want to see us playing more like this. 1 and 2 touch passes. In clip number 8, you'll see Wan-Bissaka give it to Greenwood. Greenwood lays it off to McTominay, and McTominay fires it into Dan's feet. He gives it straight into Dan James's feet. Dan James just takes a touch and just rolls a lovely 2 or 3 yard pass back to Greenwood and sets off. Maybe watch the clip a couple of times and look at the amount of grass behind the defender. He'll be onside. Whatever happens, Dan James spins to go behind his marker. And there's oceans of space behind his marker. It's a really dangerous moment, this, if it comes off. He's well onside because they have got another player who's deeper, Chelsea, but he's further over the field. He's never going to affect the play, but he is deep enough that he's playing him onside. So Dan James lays it off to Greenwood, spins to go in behind and gets fouled. And he lays it to Greenwood, who passes it to McTominay, and Greenwood gets fouled. And you can see the referee put his whistle to his lips. When Dan James spins in behind, he's hoping for Greenwood to put it straight in behind. If those things happen, it'll be a really, really dangerous moment. It'll be a great breakaway. But he doesn't manage it. Greenwood plays it inside to McTominay, gets fouled himself. Referee puts his whistle to his lips, but realises we've still got the ball and waves play on, lets the advantage go. I think both of those fouls on another day would warrant a yellow card. The one on Dan James, he's spinning in behind into a really dangerous position, and if Greenwood manages to get that ball back to him, that player blocks Dan James's path deliberately because he doesn't want him to get into that space. So it's a nailed on yellow card, and I believe he should still get a yellow card. despite the fact that United retained the ball and move it across the park. On another day, the referee had come back and say, right, you, I'm taking your name for that. That could happen for both the player who fouled Dan James and the player who fouls Greenwood. But getting back to Dan James, it's a really bright piece of play. I like talking about the intelligence in his game because so many people talk about lack of intelligence. And the one touch to steady the ball, the little layoff to Greenwood, spins and goes. It's lovely football. And on another day, we would have a really dangerous break. Clip number 9 coming up. Is in the first half. They put a ball into the box. McTominay just gets his boot to it, clears it first time. It goes up in the air, and Dan James takes a lovely first touch. It's dropping. It's coming out of the sky with snow on it, if you like. He takes a lovely first touch, and I love 1 and 2 touch passing. Kills it instantly and literally plays. It must only be a yard, maybe a 2-yard pass perhaps, into Bruno's feet. And sets off to goal, but gets fouled. Yet again, he gets fouled. How many times he has to get... I mean, this one's early in the game. I've mixed all these up. How many times he has to get fouled in a game before they start taking players' names is beyond me. But it's a lovely little touch, a lovely little pass to Bruno. He gets dragged down, and it gets United out of a defensive position. The last 3 clips are just about intelligence, speed of thought, which, as I've said, I love talking about that because so many people seem to think he lacks intelligence, and I don't get it. But there's a ball played to him towards the touchline. He only just keeps it in. He's looking towards the touchline, so he's got his sort of back to goal or side on to the goal at best. To the play. He just keeps it in with the outside of his right foot, and with his second touch, he passes it into Wan-Bissaka. It's a really nice, cute piece of play. He turns to go into space. If Wan-Bissaka manages to keep it under and pass it to him, again, he's back into a dangerous area in space. It's lovely play by Dan James. The fact that Wan-Bissaka doesn't quite control it or he mishits his pass when he gets it, it doesn't alter the fact that Dan James has kept it in well, passed it well, moved into space well. You know, Wan-Bissaka on another day would take a touch on that and give it back to him, and it'd be a dangerous moment, or he'd be in a good position to attack them again. But that's a nice piece of play by Dan James. Clip 11, he receives it from Wan-Bissaka, and he's on the touchline. He takes 2 or 3 touches this time. He just runs it in field diagonally towards a goal and passes to Greenwood. When he passes it to Greenwood, he also knows that Wan-Bissaka's on the outside. You've got to see these pictures. You know, you see a picture in your mind. He's got a picture in his mind of Greenwood giving it to Wan-Bissaka, and he wants to be in the box. So again, it's intelligent play by Dan James. Dribbles it in, 2 or 3 touches, passes to Greenwood. He's expecting Greenwood to pass it to Wan-Bissaka, and he's herring into the box. But Greenwood's pass to Wan-Bissaka isn't quite right, not quite good enough. They cut it out and the move breaks down. The move breaks down though. It's not Dan James's fault. It's lovely play by Dan James. And the last and final clip, there's only 12. I'm going to do 2 threads. It's just a simple... It's a long ball to him from Luke Shaw, and he just to show that he can head it. He's only whatever he is, 5'7" or something. He heads it back to Greenwood, nice, and it's the dead easy one, the last one. He heads it back to Greenwood, but it keeps United in possession. And I don't show all of this, but United keep possession for another 30 seconds or something, trying to find a way through. I've seen players in similar situations try and bring it down, flick it on aimlessly, or try and edit at goal from the edge of the box. I've seen all sorts of things like that in the past. I'm not saying it's anything brilliant, the last clip, but it's just a simple piece of play. He sees Greenwood and just heads it back to him. So that's clip number 12. So there's 12 clips there. I'll do 2 threads. I'll put 6 on each thread. They will go up. It is now Tuesday afternoon. Those will go up on Twitter by midnight on Tuesday. It's Crystal Palace away tomorrow. I will be live with the team news. I think it's a 8:15 kickoff. It might check that. It might be 8 o'clock. I think it's a 8:15 kickoff tomorrow. If it's 8:15, I'll be live about 5:07, discussing the possible team news before the team news comes out. Not a bad draw at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. it's a decent result. Like I said before the game, we needed to keep that 6-point gap on Chelsea. We've kept that 6-point gap on Chelsea. We do not need it closing up. Everton won last night, by the way. They've got West Brom away on Thursday, another winnable game. If we don't beat Palace, even Everton will be breathing down our necks, if you like. So this top 4 race, at the minute we're well in command of it. But we don't. Well, it's not really a race at the minute. We're well in command, so we don't want it to become a race. Obviously, we've got a tough game against City at the weekend. It'd be silly to say that. I'm sure Ollie will be thinking like this again. It'd be silly to say that you wouldn't take a point in that game. So we can't afford to drop points tomorrow night. 1 point at Chelsea's fine. 1 point at City is fine. In that gap in the middle, that Crystal Palace game, it has got to be 3 points to get 5 points out of the 9, and that would keep us well in command of our own. We'll still be in command of our own destiny. It might just mean we need to win a few more than we think we need to, or that we expect to need to at a later date. So we need to win this Palace game and keep us well in command of our own destiny for the top 4. So I'm looking forward to that one tomorrow. That's that for tonight. If you've enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.